recently heard this from one of our customers and it really resonated with me. There are a lot of marketing tools and technologies out there, but we really don't have the data. So, when you give marketers building blocks and these APIs where developers can actually build for any marketing use case, it's the perfect marriage, right? Because you now have building blocks off of the data where you can build any application for any use case that you need.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Content Matters podcast. Today, I'm excited to introduce Katrina Wong. She's the VP of Segment Marketing, which is now a business unit of Twilio. Katrina's been with the company for about a year and a half. She's spent the last 15 years working with a range of startups, enterprises, and high-growth companies. She's done marketing, go-to-market, and revenue growth roles, and lots of other stuff. You'll recognize some of these companies like Hired, SAP, Salesforce, Zora. Katrina and I talked about the evolving customer data landscape, including what the end of third-party cookies means for customer experience and why it's actually not such a bad thing that marketers are easing their reliance on third-party data. We also talked about customer data platforms, or CDPs, of course, because that's what Segment is, and how they help bring together all of a company's first-party data to enable truly personalized and even hyper-personalized customer experiences. And we talked about what the API economy and the idea of building blocks has meant for creating custom solutions that differentiate brands. And those are just the highlights. Enjoy.
So tell me a little bit first about the work that you do at Segment, what your role is.
So I lead marketing for all of the Segment. We are now a business unit for Twilio. My main areas of focus include product marketing and demand generation.
Two of the most important things today, right?
Yes, I agree. although communications is super important as well. And so managing relationships with the press and analysts is also something that is key to marketing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But in saying that, with the product marketing and stuff, it's changing a lot for us. So I think that's where I wanted to kind of go with this, because start with this topic of going to a cookieless world from how we do our marketing and we do our selling. That's going to really affect how we do product marketing and demand generation and lead generation and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to kind of talk about that. I wanted to talk about that first, but before we talk about going cookieless, I think it's probably important to get that clarification between what is first-party data versus second-party data versus third-party data, because the topic of going cookieless plays a role there, and that, what you think of this new zero-party data term that everybody's starting to talk about.
Yes, great place to start. Just to level set, third-party data, it is data that is collected either by providers of data, businesses, online tools using cookies. They don't. What that really means is you don't really have a direct relationship with a customer or user. Second-party data is data that a brand doesn't collect themselves, but are purchased from another company with first-party data and user data. And then first-party data, this is where it's a little bit nuanced. This is the cleanest data possible. It's typically gathered from customers of businesses or brands that are using something that you are offering of value, such as a newsletter, any type of opt-in content, a customer online purchase, or online account details, filling out a profile, for example. And what's nuanced about this is for first-party data, it also can be insights from analytics and user behaviors that were collected in the previously mentioned methods. And so with zero-party data, and this is a term that I believe Forrester coined pretty recently, right? But it's data that is customer intentionally and proactively shares with a brand, which can include preference center data, purchase intentions, personal context, and how the individual wants the brand to recognize her. So when I think about this, it's really the main difference between first party data and zero party data is that you are collecting zero party data and soliciting a direct interaction from your audience.
Okay.
There's a lot to unpack there in terms of why that's key, and how CDPs play a role, what we do here at Segment specifically, and just even some of our own research that we've found around this topic.
Yeah, and I'd love to get into some of that. But before we go there, let's kind of talk about the idea of, the cookie issue is not related to first, second, kind of zero party data, right? It's really related to third party data. It's, we're going to
That's
really
right.
lose our ability to collect that data through cookies. So what does that mean for customer experience and marketing programs?
Yeah, just given the how much the privacy landscape has transformed, companies really need to take a really hard look at how they think about their use of third-party data. And maybe I'll take it even a step further, how they're thinking about identity resolution. So one way to tackle this technically is just through the use of CDP, where it is about that first party data and marketers can activate a single view of the customer so that they can deliver the most relevant messages and experiences without the need of a third party data. So that's really at the core of the issue. Is third party data intrusive for the customer, and where is that customer privacy bar, if you will?
Yeah. So what does that mean though? Like, it obviously it's affecting privacy. We don't want to, be able to collect the third party data. GDPR, CCPA. I heard there's a whole bunch of other, new privacy regulations coming into place. But so what does that mean though for customer experience? Because we still need to deliver these personalized experiences. And now we're losing a lot of that data that sort of helps contribute to figuring out what is the right experience.
That's right. So that was historically how it was done, because it was actually hard for companies and brands to collect massive first party data and signals. So it's really through the use of a CDP and being able to unify your customer record and collecting all of the signals that are possible to collect that makes it that much more accurate for you to understand your customers' preferences, what their experience with your brand is. It far exceeds in terms of accuracy compared to third-party data. So yeah, I mean, I can dive in a little bit more. Like, for example, you're able to collect your data, clean your data, and really control your customer data and merge customer activity into this unified profile in real time. And so all of those touch points, can tie together what a unique user is doing on your particular website, and therefore you can then message to them in a very tailored way. That's definitely the newer way to thinking about how you would create, hyper personalized customer experiences, and you can do so in a better way than using third-party data, which isn't very accurate at all.
Yeah, can you do it without a customer data platform? Like I know I know what the platforms are and all about them, but there are some people who still, or some companies who still haven't kind of chosen the path of going with a CDP, even though I know that the growth of that platform in the organizations is growing quite a bit. Like, but could you do that kind of aggregation of data around a customer without having a CDP platform?
Yeah, that is what that is what I actually hear from, customers always on almost a daily basis, or most certainly on a weekly basis. It is very hard to do. You can imagine that with a true omni-channel experience, you are interacting with your customers over email, website, text messaging, etc. And your data sits in silos. So without a CDP, what you're actually doing is having to reconcile the data very manually. That is pretty hard to do. And it's certainly at scale in real time is almost impossible.
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, that's pretty much what I was thinking. And I think that it's a great opportunity by implementing a CDP to not just understand your customers more intimately and provide better experiences, but it really helps companies kind of clean up their tech stacks. And I was like, is that kind of your perspective as well? Like, I know we talk about this whole idea of an API economy and how it's evolving and changing the way companies build and integrate their technologies. But I was just wondering what your perspective was on that.
Yeah, it does definitely help you clean up your tech stack. In many ways, what the API economy has done is democratize everything for marketers. Basically for marketers, with APIs, we can now be in the driver's seat because historically, a lot of business logic is locked up, in applications, and it never truly solves for exactly what we need it to do. And I'll take it one step further. I recently heard this from one of our customers, and it really resonated with me. There are a lot of marketing tools and technologies out there, but we really don't have the data. So, when you give marketers building blocks and these APIs where developers can actually build for any marketing use case, it's the perfect marriage, right? Because you now have building blocks off of the data where you can build any application for any use case that you need. That's kind of our school of thought.
I've been kind of on the tech side of the kind of technology, I guess, a weird way to say that, but I used to work for a consulting firm many, many years ago, and the whole idea of modular kind of development and creating modules and piecing them together and stuff was so new, and it was very tech heavy. IT had to do it, but today it doesn't seem like it needs such a heavy IT focus, that marketers can come in and kind of help set up these environments themselves because of the way the API economy has grown and developed.
Yes, it's, the way that I think about it, and Jeff Lawson, our CEO, talks about this: build or die. Companies need to build custom solutions to differentiate against competitors and provide these unique customer experiences. But the key is they are building blocks versus in previous, past decades where you're actually building from scratch.
Yeah.
Right. So it's almost been an evolution. Like, you first build from scratch, then it was all about buying packaged software. And then we discovered that, wait a second, packaged, software can't really keep up with the pace of what our customers are doing and how fast everything is moving and evolving. Yeah. So you kind of need this hybrid where you're not building from scratch, you're just working off of building blocks, but you get to tailor it to your every use case. It's both Twilio and Segment are founded based on this philosophy, and it's been pretty cool to kind of witness it unfold in real time.
Thank you to the sponsor of the Content Matters podcast, Ingenix is a leading provider of agile content management solutions. You can use Ingenix CMS to manage and deliver modern websites, customer support portals, knowledge bases, and more. Ingenix software enables content reuse, true mobile and multi-channel content delivery, and insightful content discovery. To learn more about how Ingenix can support your content experiences, visit ingenix.com.
Has it changed the way you do marketing for Segment? Like, since the acquisition by Twilio, like it seems like before the acquisition, or maybe even after, there's a developer focused marketing approach by Segment, but now that CDPs are much more recognized by marketing as critical, that your marketing process inside Segment has changed. Is that true?
Yes and no, because I think because of our philosophy of building blocks and being able to activate that through APIs, the developer is still pretty key to the equation. But what we've done really is offer product tailored to marketers that are that goes beyond what a developer is building that's custom. So recently with our Journeys launch, for example, marketers can actually go in to our product and build a journey orchestration, a customer's buyer's journey, for example.
Right.
And that's an extension of our CDP.
And is that something that like those types of capabilities, do you think are those important for you to build now to kind of get marketers more involved in how they're setting things up?
Definitely. It's because I think where the landscape has been, marketers were very disconnected with the actual data. So marketers have access to a lot of technology. What they don't have direct access to is data, and good data that has been cleaned and unified, the single view of the customer. And what's powerful about connecting a CDP with actual tangible tools that marketers can use, such as building a customer journey, is the next era. It's being able to connect the two.
Yeah. Did you see a CDP as foundational in the tech stack, or is it like, where does it sit in the tech stack from your perspective?
It is foundational. I think core to our message is good data. And without that great data, accurate data, compliant data, you're not going to be able to deliver the right message at the right time across the right channel for your customers.
Right.
You don't know what their preferences are, and you don't know what they've done. So, when I think about us as marketers, all wanting as our North Star, hyper personalization, the key to getting there is that data.
Yeah. And so it's foundational, but yet, there's definitely a growth in the market. And I read somewhere that there are like 143 CDPs, software solutions available. Some of them are pure platform solutions. Some of them are, like Adobe's got their own CDP now, and some of those types of companies have it. But how can there be like so many versions of it available? Like, how do you decide, if you're a company coming in, what is the right type of CDP I should be looking for?
Oh, great question. Just like account-based marketing, when that category was getting created, and even now to a large extent, there are different emphasis of account-based marketing that different applications are more oriented towards. So I think that of the same for CDPs. You can be more data focused, and you're more focused on the data infrastructure. Other applications may be more focused on what marketers could do so on and so forth. But as I mentioned earlier, I think the Holy Grail is combining the data infrastructure and the architecture around that, and the power of having really clean, compliant data with the ability of marketers to directly run campaigns from the CDP itself. Because that way you're not just moving the data downstream to a number of tools on your stack. And to your point earlier, does having the right CDP help with streamlining your stack? That's how it can, because you're probably working with multiple applications as a part of your marketing stack, and a CDP can help consolidate that.
And that's a lot of the reason that can do that is because there are a lot of kind of AI and machine learning capabilities built into these platforms, right? That can you don't just collect the data, but you can actually analyze it and figure out, what are the key things you should be looking at for a particular customer or a segment of customers.
That's right. And have it be predictive as well.
Yeah. Predictive is interesting because it just seems like we talk about it a lot, but we don't really I haven't seen or heard like a huge amount of success stories yet with taking advantage of predictive analytics. Like, do you have any examples of a customer, and you don't have to name the name obviously, but who's really been able to take that capability and really, acquire new customers with it?
I think when it comes to AI and ML and predictive analytics for marketers, we are still in the very early stages of that. To use a softball or baseball analogy, we're really kind of in this second or third inning of a 9-inning game, if you will. But with that said, some of the more innovative examples that one of our customers is doing is being able to stitch together experiences across all of their different channels and even like derivative channels. So there's a major shoe company where what they're doing is offering a true omnichannel experience that's hyper personalized, because they actually can collect this data and make use of it in real time. So for example, if you see a pair of shoes on a Netflix show, you can now go on to the mobile app of this brand with a huge community and basically send a message in real time to a brand ambassador and actually chat about the new release of the shoe. Without the use of a CDP in real time, you just can't get there. So that's probably the most advanced example that I've heard recently. We are working with this customer to turn on AI, ML, and predictive. But with most of these customers, it's a journey and it takes a lot of data to get the predictions right.
Yeah. So do you think that in terms of application of the CDP, we're probably really still in the early mid stages of getting one in place and really taking advantage of them?
That's right. That's right.
Okay, that's interesting. So here's a question for you. When we talk about customer data management, we talk about specifically customer data, but do you see a role with content in this kind of space as well? Like the content that from a marketing and sales perspective, we create to kind of help customers make decisions? Like, do you see a role for content in that space?
Absolutely. Content is key because once you have the data and more importantly, the signals for what your customers are excited about, how they want to engage and what they find valuable, it really is about tailoring their experience and providing content in a way that is value add and compelling. So I call this the true value exchange. In other words, in exchange for a customer's time, what is the value they are getting in return? So this is core to providing hyper-personalized experiences that work, or through product marketing and selling. It's, once you understand your customer better through data, then it is about using content and leveraging those insights to tailor the most perfect experience possible for your customer.
I find that content, there's the type of content that we want to deliver for our customer experiences has really evolved from just being kind of really good marketing content like ebooks and white papers and good blog posts and thought leadership, but also now really pushing and really getting the customer more up to speed from a product content side. Like how do you use the product? How does the product work? Like I find that there's a lot more growth of getting product marketing, technical documentation into the marketing sphere to create a better experience. Are you finding that as well?
Absolutely. When I look at, and I'm a very data-driven marketer, my entire team is, that type of how-to content and a practitioner's hands-on content is what's converting the best. So I know our customers are actually more hands-on with marketing technology. It's kind of cool to see because that has not always been the case.
Right. Have you noticed like, well, actually from your own experience as well, getting all of that type of content together to kind of deliver a good experience is kind of the same challenges with getting customer data all in one place and getting a solid view of the customer, getting content that you want to deliver to create these experiences in one place to get a view of what is the right mix of content. Like, have you found anyone struggling with that as well?
It is hard. There is, how do you actually manage that content, and how do you get all of that content created and have it really hit the mark for it to be compelling? So I think having technical marketers, if you will, or technical content marketers is key. That's one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And then it's just really aligning with your customers in terms of where they are getting stuck technically and what are the aha moments. So with us specifically in a CDP, we connect many different data sources to a variety of destinations. And so we have what we call recipes. They're blog posts with snippets of code that actually share how to do this. Our customers love that. So it's going pretty deep. The managing content, we could probably do a whole podcast around that.
I know.
It's very involved.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay. So where do you see kind of, I know we're just, like we said, we're just kind of really getting into using CDPs and getting that better view of the customer and delivering those better experiences. But do you see anything next in the pipe for how the customer data platform will evolve, how the customer experience will evolve?
I think that the first step was, at least from our point of view, going from, heavy with the data architecture and infrastructure and the evolution of marketers directly being able to create, journeys and kind of orchestrating your customer experience. I think the next step is execution of it all within a platform and not having to move that data into a second platform, for example. So that way you get the end-to-end experience and the real signals feeding back to your customer profile in your CDP. So I see that as the next horizon.
That's a lot, probably not a long ways off, but definitely an interesting thing to look forward to. So last question for you before we kind of sign off. What made you decide to join Segment? Because I was looking kind of at your work experience, and you've done some great work with a lot of great companies. What was it that drew you to working with Segment?
Oh, great question. I started my career about 20 years ago, and my first entree into tech was actually solving a similar problem. This was during the dot-com era, and it was pre-cloud. And the company that I worked for, we were putting up the very first websites for retailers, Macy's, Nordstrom's, Harley Davidson, Hallmarks, Sprint, you name it. But pre-cloud, this was, on premise, on actual, IT servers, as part of the company's, own infrastructure. Very exciting times. A lot of stories around 5 a.m. Something's going live. We're like, okay, is the website going to stay up? And but I was part of a team that was in charge of understanding the data and the clickstream data that was being born, frankly, and we studied customer behavior on a website, and we try to compare that to customer behavior in brick and mortar stores, and we were trying to do these predictions because for the first time you can get a bunch of data, a lot of data in clickstream. We didn't really have tools other than just classic analytics that you can do. And so that was very manual. It took a lot of time. So circle with Segment, because we are still solving that problem. And my gosh, right, the last 2 decades, how advanced we've come. There's still a long ways to go, but it's just been such a wonderful journey being here at Segment. Because many years ago, we look forward to this day where we could actually automate a lot of this.
Yeah, I bet a lot of people kind of look back and think, wow, how far we've actually come, and how advanced the technology has changed so quickly. That's great. So thank you, Katrina. I this was a great conversation. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thank you, Barb, so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. I look forward to staying connected.